Thousands of entrepreneurs are forming Wyoming LLCs without living there. But is this actually legal, and could it put your business at risk in your home state? The answer might surprise you. Getting this wrong could mean complete loss of your asset protection when you need it most. In this video, you'll learn why Wyoming LLCs are popular for out-of-state business owners, the 3 legal tests to determine if you need to register in your home state, and finally, how to maintain proper compliance across state lines to ensure your asset protection isn't compromised.
If you're worried whether forming a Wyoming LLC from out of state is actually legal, I'm Jonathan Finiak. I'm a Wyoming attorney, and I've helped tens of thousands of people form their businesses. And I can tell you definitively, yes, it is legal. In fact, there is no prohibition in any state, or even if you're not in the United States, whether federal law or state law, to forming an LLC wherever you want. But here's what most people miss. There's a crucial difference between what's legal and then what's proper and gonna offer you the best protection. Wyoming has specifically crafted its laws to welcome you to the state. They've crafted some of the most asset protection friendly, owner friendly, veil piercing reduction friendly, charging order protection friendly laws in the entire United States. And they're constantly or regularly updating the laws to make them even better. So let's talk about the basic compliance requirements. And when I say compliance, I'm actually not talking about your state compliance, filing a report. I'm not talking about tax compliance, filing your taxes. What I'm talking about is legal compliance. Legal compliance is the things you do to deliver on the asset protection, on the veil piercing protection, on the charging order protection that you signed up for when you formed your Wyoming LLC. Legal compliance becomes important when somebody sues you and you're in front of a judge. What's going to make the judge respect your business structure, that's your LLC, and maintain the separation between your personal assets, which should not be at risk, like your home, and your business assets, that's what's owned by the LLC. Let's talk about compliance in your home state first. What constitutes doing business in a state? If you're doing business in a state, you should form your LLC there, or you should register your company to do business there. But it's funny because states don't tell you what it means to do business there. They tell you what it means not to do business there. If you go and you read the laws, I've read the laws of almost every state in this area, and they say, okay, if you've got member and manager meetings in a state, you're not doing business there. You got bank accounts in a state, you're not doing business there. You're doing X, you're doing Y, you're doing Z, you're not doing business in the state. Some states are a little bit more restrictive than others, but they don't specifically tell you. I've created some bright line rules. One of them, are you serving the public in person in the state? Okay, if you're serving the public, if you got a taco truck, you know I love tacos. If I got a taco truck, I am definitely doing business in the state where I'm operating that taco truck. Do you have employees in the state? If you've got employees in the state, then you're definitely doing business there. And we think about why these laws exist. The laws exist to protect the citizens of the state from out-of-state businesses, right? If you can come in, harm a citizen of the state, and the only way it could sue you is to go way off to Wyoming, well, that would be a problem for the citizens of the state. So if you could harm a citizen of the state, then it's likely you're doing business in that state. Those are the broad categories. But let's talk about some examples, right? You got a storefront. If there's an open sign on your door, you're doing business in the state. That's easy. That's easy enough, right? If you are, even if you don't have a store, but you're driving your vehicles around the state, you're in construction, you're a contractor, you're doing service on people's homes, you're entering into their homes on a regular basis. That's how you're making your money, physically interacting with the public in a state. You're doing business in that state. There's other things where you could have periodic, infrequent connections with people in a state. Say you're a consultant. You go into the state and you've got clients all over the US. Maybe you go into Florida twice a year. You go into Idaho once a year. You are not typically gonna be treated as doing business in the state because it's not regular. You are interacting with the public, but it's not a regular interaction with the public there. If you're doing e-commerce, you're doing drop shipping, right? And everything comes from somewhere else, it's shipped, it's fulfilled by Amazon, you've got a contact, you bring it in, you're not doing business in your state. So the e-commerce, it seems easy enough, right? But in that scenario I laid out there, there's no employees, there's no warehouse, there's not vendors coming to drop off goods. Those sorts of things are likely a trigger for doing business, right? Because someone could be harmed in that state. Think about that. Could some citizen of this state be harmed by what I'm doing there? If I'm a consultant and all I do is Zoom calls all day, no one's gonna be harmed in Ohio through my Zoom call. So that case, I'm not doing business in Ohio. So think about it in that way, and it should be pretty easy to determine if you are doing business in a state or not. If you are doing business in the state, you either form your LLC there. That's not practical if you're doing business in multiple states, right? In that case, you would want to comply by doing a registration there. Foreign entity registration, it's sometimes it's called business qualification. But in that way, you could have one company and you're a door-to-door salesperson. You're going and you're going, you spend a month in Ohio, you spend a month in Indiana, you spend a month in New York. You would register to do business in all three of those states in that example. So the compliance requirements when you're working across many state lines can be somewhat onerous, but you could still benefit from an LLC formed in your home state or formed in a jurisdiction like Wyoming.
Now that you understand the legality of forming a Wyoming LLC as a non-resident, the next critical step is maintaining proper compliance. Many business owners mistakenly believe that simply filing LLC paperwork is enough to protect their assets. And in our next video, I'll show you exactly what compliance requirements actually matter when you end up in front of a judge, and the specific steps you need to take to maintain your protection across state lines.